My name's Ken Whitaker. I grew up in North Augusta, South Carolina, and a few of us, when Desert Storm kicked off, discussed and talked with a recruiter about joining the National Guard. Out of the three of us, I was the only one that actually joined, and that happened in September of 1991. And I joined Charlie Company in Graniteville of the 122nd Engineer Battalion. Went to basic training in January of 92. We went to Panama and did humanitarian 2-week training deployments. And I went to Honduras, and all of that happened in the late 90s. And then in 2003, we deployed to Iraq. We came back. I transferred to another unit because they were transitioning from a light wheel corps engineer unit to a route clearance unit. And a lot of the older guys that had their time in decided to retire. Anyhow, we transferred to a unit in Somerville that was vertical construction. Got the interior electrician MOS. A year after that, I got a promotion and transferred back to Edgefield at the battalion headquarters. And from there, I got another promotion a year or two later to maintenance facilities supervisor, E7, at McCready Training Center on the backside of Fort Jackson. And I had told Edgefield if they were going to deploy that I might be interested in going, and was at AT with the unit in McCready Training Center when I got a phone call from Edgefield. And they were like, if you're going to deploy with us, we want you to go to AT with us. And I was like, well, when's that? And it was like 2 weeks. So I had a week off and then went to the AT with them, and then finished that class by the skin of my teeth and told college I would enter back up and finish my degree when I got back from the deployment. And we deployed. Well, I went on active duty January of 2013, and we deployed to Afghanistan. We were there from April till December, and then we came home. And then I retired out of the National Guard in October of 2020. And I started my own little pest control business in 2016. And I'm fortunate enough to still do that. I don't have any employees. I'm just kind of keep it small and do what I need to do. I've always been an avid hunter and fisherman. Grew up camping and fishing at Clark Hill Lake. Both of my grandfathers served in the Army during World War II. And my father actually was in the Marine Reserves in Augusta, Georgia. And he had gotten accidentally shot on the civilian side and then was medically discharged. And I've lost some good friends to suicide, and I like spending time and efforts to connect with heroes and other veterans to get them outdoors and give them an avenue or a way to escape the stresses and the worries of the bad stuff that we face sometimes. My passion, I mean, I enjoy still hunting. I enjoy being in the woods, and not being, I guess, on the go, but running deer dogs and the social aspect and having a big group is a lot of benefits to that as well, and I enjoy. I mean, there were a lot of things. It wasn't like one key moment. I learned a lot, and I'm very grateful from the elders and my leaders. I got to go places and do things that I would have never gotten to do through the National Guard and by being in the service. It can be a good thing. I mean, it's up to the person and making it being positive about it. It's got its challenges. So, each individual has to make up their own mind to stay in it and stay after it. I mean, there were a lot of times I didn't know if I was going to stay in it, but there was an older guy that he stayed in till he was probably 60. And he always said, you look at these guys that are getting out and a year or two later they're back. He said they miss it, and that's just time they're losing on potentially getting a retirement. The National Guard was always more of a family type scenario because people weren't transitioning in and out like active duty units. And I mean, it was true small town guard. And as of late, in the last 15, 20 years, in order for people to get promotions and things like that, it has become more of, a statewide type thing. But for a long time, you had to wait till somebody decided to get out or retire or pass away to get a promotion, because everything was tied up and everybody was from that area of that unit. I mean, it's a big transition. You go from being on the defense and being in a unit with a bunch of guys that, have your back and your elbow to elbow in the trenches, so to speak. And then you come back and you've got to take that military helmet off and put on your civilian cap and, be a father, be a husband. I mean, it's a transition that some folks don't adjust well with. With the National Guard, you don't quite get that same experience, but you still have to transition from, being deployed and being on orders back to the civilian life. And I mean, it's, besides having a couple of weeks off and kind of readjusting your head and your train of thought, I didn't struggle with it that much. I'm not saying that other folks don't, but you kind of just reset and you know where your position is in life and your role, and get back to doing what you're supposed to do. Battlefront Outdoors is a group of guys and ladies that have joined together to fight against suicide and things like that. We include veterans, active duty, law enforcement, firefighters, emergency personnel. That includes dispatchers, ER workers, the guards in the prison system. So, I mean, we tried to include all of the avenues of local heroes as well as veterans, and everybody in those areas has usually had some sort of event that would trigger post-traumatic syndrome or PTSD. Our efforts are to create relationships and get them outdoors and hope that, they get the support that they need. Well, while we were deployed to Iraq, there was a fellow that was in the unit. He wasn't in my squad, but he was in my platoon that committed suicide. And it could have been prevented because he was being investigated for some sort of fraud, and the investigating person that was in the military, or the police officer, or whatever you want to call them, in my opinion, left him unattended by himself, and that was a mistake. Maybe the whole thing could have been prevented by leaving him with someone instead of by himself. A good friend of mine that I grew up with, that I talked about being on the volunteer fire department and things like that, he went through some marital issues and he was drinking more than we realized it, and he committed suicide. And I mean, I'd known him since we were young kids in the neighborhood, and then his parents divorced and they moved to Beach Island, but then we reconnected. And I kind of beat myself up sometimes because I felt like I should have paid closer attention or realized that he needed a friend. But ultimately I'm not at fault. But it still stings, so to speak. And he's got a daughter and grandkids and things like that. And, you just don't want to see anybody go through that if they don't have to. I'm sorry, I'm getting all broke up. I worked with several different counselors and in a better place, bottom line. And I learned what I was doing wrong and learned how to deal with people that might have been doing wrong towards me and not let it affect me and my judgment. And, but initially you got to make the effort. You got to take the step. You got to ask for the help to move beyond it. I mean, detachment is one, just not coming around, not hanging out, not wanting to talk. Everybody's different. Um, you know, just having friends or having like-minded folks to lean on or spend time with can do wonders. And that's why Battlefront and other organizations similar have that available, or we're here and why we do what we do. Um, everybody checking up on their friends and their battle buddies from time to time is one way to prevent that. But I mean, it's going to vary between each individual, and some people are really good at hiding it. So I mean, it's just the ones that are closest to them are going to notice it more so if they're paying attention. I mean, if life is busy, it's liable to go a long time before it's recognized. So I mean, we're all guilty of getting caught up in the rat race, and I think we should, as a society, get to the point to where we can slow down a little bit more. But yeah. I don't know that that'll happen anytime soon. You're an ear for or a shoulder for them. Support them and try to get them in the help that they need. It's not I mean, it doesn't have to be an outdoor hunting or fishing trip. It can be going golfing or doing anything. But, as a whole, we believe just getting outside and being away from a structure and being in nature is a benefit to calming your brain and your fast paced life, and getting you back down to where you're letting some of that stress go, and then making connections with others that can relate and move forward and have a friendship that or someone you can talk to when you need them. I mean, if you slow down and you look at the sunrise when you're on the water going fishing, or if you're in the woods trying to kill a turkey and the sun's coming up and the transition, the sounds of all the other birds, even if you don't get to hear a turkey gobble. I mean, if you do, in my case here lately, that's been the only successful thing I've had. We've been chasing some birds around a clear cut that it about make you go crazy. I think it's a beneficial thing, and I think it's been, I've I've been conducting what I've called a veteran hunt, which we've included, law enforcement and firefighters, everybody this past year. But I think we've done it, forgotten how many years, about 4 or 5 years now, maybe a little longer, at Briar Creek. And I've always tried to do it the Saturday before or the Saturday after Veterans Day. And 50 to 60% of the attendees are the same guys that have applied for it several years in a row. And the number that we're able to host has changed. So this past year, I think we were up to 20 or 25. So out of that, 10 of them have joined or, came back. And we have had several members to join the hunting club that were guests that came out there. And it's just been, I've met more veterans that way that are now close friends. And I've got more people in my suitcase of, to call to do stuff with or to vent to, or, that I know are like-minded and have experienced some of the same things I've experienced and can, bounce ideas off of. So, I don't know what you would call that, but my support system, as one way of looking at it, and the groups and the contacts that I've made through the years is it's a good thing. To me, it's just being able to enjoy what God's created for us. I enjoy sharing that with like-minded and individuals and folks that have made sacrifices similar that I have. By hosting these hunts and things like that, you're you're starting you're building a relationship, or you're giving them the opportunity for the relationships to build. Stresses of the fast pace of most people's lives, it goes away. You can feel that weight lifted off your shoulders. You can relax. You're getting fresh air. Um, all of those things are beneficial, in my opinion. Okay, Eric Presley is the president. He lives down in Orangeburg, and he is in the Air National Guard over near Savannah. So we started Battlefront Outdoors. He's an avid outdoorsman. He goes hunting and fishing. He owns a coon dog and participates in. I don't know that he actually went to the Grand American with the dog this past year, but I think he's trying to gear up for the year coming that happens over in Orangeburg every year. And then Patrick Cooper, he was a member of the 82nd Airborne. He's the secretary, and I don't know that if he retired from doing 20 years, but he's a father and he's you know combat veteran. Um, and then we got Zach Adams. He's in the South Carolina Army National Guard, and he just got off of a deployment for about a year working on Border Patrol. Amber Martin, she was prior Air Force, and she's a nurse. She's like our median consultant, and she recently took that job on and has been doing wonders. And then we've got Sean, who is the sergeant at arms, who was prior Air Force and also prior law enforcement. And he's the one that lives up in Pickens that I was telling you about. Hunting and fishing has been largely the main ones. Like I said, the deer hunts, and then we've had some wild pig hunts. Um, we've got a catfish tournament that'll be happening in the next couple months down in Santee that works with a club that they donate their boats and things, and it's been a wonderful partnership. Um, we also, Sean has hosted several fishing trips up around Lake Jocassee and Lake Kiowee. Um, and we've had some golf outings. There's also been some tickets for ice hockey and some of the NASCAR races that have been put together as group trips and that kind of thing. The biggest success is to make that relationship with the others on the trip, sharing the beauty of the outdoors with those that may not have the opportunity as often, and building support systems for people that are struggling. You try not to go digging too deep too quick, but let them open up to you. Let them open up as quickly or slowly as they will. They can support us with always money or financially. They can support us with some equipment. Our banquet that's coming up, we need items for raffles and drawings. We may, and if we have enough items, we would do a silent auction and, raise funds so that we can help take more folks out. Um, and we're growing in that department. I mean, we've had some new people that have, graciously donated some properties and things like that for us to be able to take people hunting. But, I mean, if there's somebody out there that wants to help in those ways, or just, volunteer when we do have events, we're willing to take on any kind of help we can get. If you've got, an opportunity to take a person, or if you've got property. I mean, we've got the insurances for the liability issues, and we're willing to staff it and support it in any way that we can. On Facebook, there's a Battlefront Outdoors page that anybody can follow. Pictures and things there. Battlefront Outdoors members only, which is where we announce trips. Those are where your law enforcement and your military folks are. And then we post an after action review, typically there and on Instagram or the other Facebook page. You got to live life with a purpose, so you might as well do it and do good things with it.